With the death of the Emperor, Darth Vader, and most of the Imperial leadership at the Battle of Endor, Admiral Ray Sloane was left to order the retreat of their forces. Following months of internal strife within the remains of the Empire, most of the Imperial fleet retreated to the Outer Rim. Many of their greatest ships were destroyed in the conflicts, leaving Admiral Ray Sloane in command of their last Super Star Destroyer, the Executor-class Star Dreadnought Ravager. Yet Admiral Sloane was under the command of the Imperial Fleet Admiral, who most thought was dead, and who was amassing a fleet in secret, manipulating events from the shadows so that his rivals within the remaining Imperial structure might kill each other off, allowing for him to take command of Imperial forces. The Fleet Admiral instructed Sloane, one of the few who knew the truth of his existence, to call a meeting above the planet of Akiva, where the remaining Imperial leadership might be convened to unify against the New Republic. However, it was all a setup, as the Fleet Admiral informed the New Republic of the meeting, causing Republic and Imperial forces to engage in the Battle of Akiva. Unable to resist the Republic attack, the Empire was defeated, and while Admiral Sloane managed to escape alive, most of the Imperial leadership was killed or taken prisoner. Admiral Sloane returned to the Fleet Admiral and learned that the events of Akiva had been his doing, so that he might consolidate leadership and test Sloane to see if she really was the best of the best by surviving the ordeal. 1 year after the Battle of Endor, having received intelligence suggesting the existence of a secret Imperial weapons facility on an obscure planet, Republic and Imperial forces would once again engage in the Battle of Jakku. Though the Empire's forces greatly outnumbered the Republic, internal power struggles and corrupted leadership once again led to their undoing, with Republic forces able to rout the enemy, even sending former Imperial officer turned rebel Thane Kyrell to infiltrate and capture the Star Destroyer Inflictor. However, its captain Sienna Ree would not allow her ship to be captured, destroying the vessel by piloting it directly into Jakku's surface. With a great portion of the Imperial Navy destroyed at the Battle of Jakku, the scattered remains of the Empire could no longer challenge Republic control. To bring an end to the conflict, the Empire officially surrendered to the New Republic, signing a galactic concordance, which confined Imperial forces to predetermined borders, forbid recruitment of stormtroopers, forced abandonment of many Imperial academies, prohibited torture, and forced them to renounce their claim on core worlds such as Coruscant. After the treaty was signed, many of the remaining Imperial vessels retreated into the unknown regions, and without Imperial forces to challenge their authority, the Republic was able to expand its influence and begin re-establishing peace in the galaxy. One of the first actions of the new government was the Military Disarmament Act proposed by Chancellor Mon Mothma. This would order a drastic decrease in the size of their military forces. Though they would still possess the largest fleet in the galaxy, it would be a defensive army, a fraction of the size of Republic forces during the Clone Wars. While the goals of the Republic were noble and their desires genuine, the years that followed saw slow, though steady, growth. By rotating the capital planet with every election, no one system or sector was given preferential treatment. This encouraged many systems, even those once under separatist control, to join the New Republic. However, the damage done by years of war and the chaos that followed the fall of the Empire was extensive, making progress slow and causing many to grow impatient, unsatisfied with the new government. Although trade was encouraged, the struggling New Republic's resources were limited, and having drastically reduced their forces, they could not patrol outside their immediate borders, leaving many of the now unaffiliated systems of the galaxy to fend for themselves, creating resentment among many who had lost the protection the Empire once provided. In the years that followed the Battle of Endor, heroes of the rebellion, Han Solo and Princess Leia Organa, were married, producing a son named Ben Solo, likely named in honor of the legendary Jedi Master Obi-Wan Kenobi. The boy proved to be strong in the Force from a young age, and so they sent him to train under Leia's brother, Luke Skywalker, who had founded a new Jedi Order and was training a new generation of Force sensitives. But Ben Solo soon fell under the influence of a mysterious dark side user known as Snoke, supreme leader of the First Order. With the last remnants of the Empire escaping into the unknown regions, their dire circumstances finally allowed them to unify, colonizing several newly discovered planets and establishing a base of operations, hidden from the New Republic. The First Order, as they became known, built technologically sophisticated shipyards and research facilities, determined to create a fleet more powerful than that of the old Empire. Many of the former Imperial officers which now served among the leadership of the First Order still possessed many Imperial secrets which allowed them to create such advanced facilities. Eventually, the First Order fell under control of Supreme Leader Snoke, a dark side master who had lived for many years in the shadows, watching the rise and fall of the Empire, waiting patiently for his time. With the death of Darth Sidious and Vader and the defeat of the Empire, Snoke felt it was time to act and founded the Knights of Ren, an organization of dark side force users he would train to aid him in his mission of conquering the galaxy. With the First Order and the Knights of Ren under his command, he was nearly ready to make his move against the New Republic, but knew one thing still stood in his way. And so Supreme Leader Snoke sought out the last Jedi Master, Luke Skywalker, and his newly formed Jedi Order. Ben Solo became the tool he used, luring him to the dark side over the course of many years, exploiting the boy's fascination with his grandfather, Darth Vader. After struggling between the light and dark sides of the Force, Ben Solo abandoned the ways of the Jedi and became the apprentice of Snoke. Ben Solo was made Kylo Ren, Master of the Knights of Ren, and was ordered to destroy the new Jedi Order. He led the Knights against his former comrades and master, succeeding in killing all of the newly trained Jedi, earning the nickname Jedi Killer. Only Master Luke Skywalker managed to escape with his life, but feeling responsible for the failure of the Order, he went into a self-imposed exile, said to be searching for the first Jedi Temple. Having had such a great impact on galactic events, and then so suddenly disappearing, Luke Skywalker became a name of legend and myth, with some believing him a glorious Jedi savior, and others considering him a merciless war criminal, while others still even questioned his existence. Supreme Leader Snoke, knowing that Luke Skywalker was the only one that might challenge his claim to the galaxy, became obsessed with finding the man's location, as did Leia Organa, who desperately wanted Luke's help in fighting the coming war against the First Order. Though most of the First Order's actions were hidden from the New Republic, rumors of their rising influence had begun to spread across the galaxy. Most senators of the Republic ignored such claims, believing them only to be rumors. And even when the First Order crept its way into the known regions of the galaxy, the Senate would not confront them, not wanting to provoke an armed conflict. Yet not all shared their lack of concern. After losing her son Ben to Supreme Leader Snoke, Leia Organa attempted to convince the Senate of the seriousness of the threat. Yet her political enemies conspired against her, calling her a warmonger and dismissing her claims. So she went off on her own, creating a private military organization known as the Resistance, and recruiting former rebel leaders like Admiral Akbar to serve in its leadership. Though the Resistance held no official status in the New Republic, the movement was funded by a number of rogue senators who secretly supported their cause and shared Leia's concern for the growing power of the First Order. The marriage of Leia Organa and Han Solo never recovered from the betrayal of their son, and so they separated, with Leia becoming fixated on the Resistance and stopping the First Order, while Han returned to a life of smuggling alongside his best friend, Chewbacca. 34 years after the Battle of Yavin, with Luke's whereabouts still unknown, R2-D2 went into low power mode, remaining under the care of Luke's sister, Leia Organa. Only one map existed, which may indicate Skywalker's location, and while most of it could not be found, a fragment of that map ended up with Lor San Tekka, an old ally of the Jedi and Republic, and longtime member of the Church of the Force. San Tekka had spent his life studying and worshipping the Force, working to understand and aid the light side in any way he could. Later in life, he retired to the village of Tuanul on the planet of Jakku, where he would live among fellow members of the Church of the Force, who had abandoned modern technology to better understand themselves and the natural world. Both the Resistance and the First Order became aware that San Tekka possessed a clue to the whereabouts of Luke Skywalker, and so both sought him out. Resistance pilot Poe Dameron was the first to find him, with Kylo Ren and the First Order close behind. Poe took the map fragment and hid it in his astromech droid BB-8, sending the droid away to avoid capture. When the First Order landed, they fought a brief battle against the village before burning it down and slaughtering the population. Lor San Tekka was executed by Kylo Ren, while Poe Dameron was taken prisoner and tortured for information. Kylo Ren was able to extract the necessary information from the prisoner, learning of BB-8 and sending First Order troops to track the droid down. After succumbing to interrogation, Poe Dameron was freed by a rogue stormtrooper defecting from the First Order. Finn, as he came to be known, aided in commandeering a Special Forces TIE fighter, and with Poe as his pilot, they escaped. But Poe, determined to find BB-8 and complete his mission, then attempted to return to Jakku, leading to a crash landing that would separate him from Finn. Finn made his way to a local village where he met a young scavenger girl named Rey, in possession of Poe's orange and white astromech droid. With First Order troops approaching their position, Finn and Rey escaped the planet aboard the Millennium Falcon, which had been stolen several times before ending up on Jakku. Coming into contact with Han Solo, they eventually made their way to the planet of Takodana, where they met with Maz Kanata, a Force-sensitive smuggler over 1,000 years old, in the hopes she might aid them in reaching the Resistance. Though the First Order remained frustrated by their failure to capture the map fragment, Their secret weapon was at last ready to be revealed. Starkiller Base, a massive superweapon built in the shadows, had recently become active, and with approval from Snoke, General Hux fired the weapon, targeting the New Republic and destroying the entire Hosnian system, where Hosnia Prime served as the current capital of the New Republic, thereby eliminating their Senate, Chancellor, government, and fleet, all in a single volley of the powerful weapon. Meanwhile, it would be in Maz Kanata's castle that Rey would feel the Force awaken inside her, guiding her into some lower rooms where she found a lightsaber, touching it and receiving a powerful Force vision. In the vision, she saw Cloud City, Luke Skywalker with R2-D2, Kylo Ren with his knights standing over slaughtered bodies, and a ship abandoning her on Jakku. After the vision ended, Maz Kanata explained that the lightsaber had belonged to Anakin and Luke Skywalker, and that it was now calling to her. But when offered the weapon, Rey ran, insisting she wanted no part in these disturbing events. Leaving the castle and running into the forest, she was alone when the First Order arrived, and was captured by Kylo Ren. Though he tried to probe her mind, she proved resistant to his influence. Kylo was surprised by how powerful in the Force she was, and reported the discovery to Supreme Leader Snoke, who wanted to see the girl for himself. With Resistance forces coming to their rescue, Finn, Han Solo, Chewbacca, and BB-8 escaped the Battle of Takodana and made their way to the Resistance base of operations, where they at last were able to bring the map fragment to Leia Organa. Yet the fragment was still incomplete, with none aware that R2-D2 possessed the other half and none able to bring him out of low power mode. Yet finding Luke Skywalker was no longer the first priority of the Resistance, instead using the former stormtrooper Finn as a source of information so they might plan an attack against Starkiller Base. They soon discovered a weakness in the weapon's thermal oscillator, which if destroyed while the machine prepares to fire, might destroy the entire base. Finn and Han Solo were sent on a ground mission to disable the shield generators, and there discovered Rey, who had used the Force to escape her captivity. Han Solo then confronts his son Kylo Ren, calling him Ben and attempting to bring him back to the light side. Though Kylo struggled with the decision, he kills Han Solo, thereby cementing his ties to the dark side. Chewbacca, devastated by the loss of his longtime friend, shot his bowcaster, hitting and gravely injuring the dark side apprentice. Chewie then detonated a number of charges, exposing the thermal oscillator, while Finn and Rey escaped into the forest. Kylo, using the pain of his injury as a source of dark side strength, chased them down into the forest and engaged Finn in a lightsaber battle, defeating him and knocking him unconscious. Kylo then prepared to defeat Rey as well, channeling the Force to summon Luke Skywalker's lightsaber. Yet to his surprise, the lightsaber went to Rey. Though Rey had no memory of Jedi training, she was able to wield the saber like a veteran, fighting back and even impressing Kylo Ren, who offered to train her as his apprentice. Yet before long, she was proving even more powerful than him, channeling the Force to defeat the dark side user, slashing him across the face with her blade. As all this occurred, Poe Dameron was able to fire on the thermal oscillator conduit, destroying it and causing a massive explosion that would ultimately destroy Starkiller Base. The ensuing chaos and fracturing of the base ended the lightsaber battle, leaving Kylo Ren injured but alive. Supreme Leader Snoke then ordered General Hux to rescue Kylo Ren so he might complete his Force training. Finally, with Starkiller Base destroyed, the Resistance won a victory, though the struggle was far from over. As the Resistance leadership met and discussed the possible whereabouts of Luke Skywalker, they mentioned that the original map they sought once existed within the records of the first Death Star. Upon overhearing this remark, R2-D2 awakened, realizing he may have downloaded the necessary information from the Death Star before it was destroyed. He searched his memory and presented them with the second half of the map. General Organa then entrusted it to Rey, who along with R2-D2 and Chewbacca took the Millennium Falcon to the planet of Ahch-To. When they at last found Luke Skywalker, he was alone on an island in the middle of a great ocean. Rey, now standing before the elusive and legendary Jedi Master, outstretched her arm and presented him with his lightsaber. A special thanks to all those who have contributed to CivilizationEx. You make these videos possible, and I am eternally grateful for your support. If you would like to help CivilizationEx and want a say in the future content of this channel, click on the Patreon link in the description box below and pledge any amount you'd like on a monthly basis. Or if you would prefer to make a single donation, you can use the PayPal link, also in the description below. And please be sure to like and subscribe and click on the links to see more.